Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I am in my M4. It's quite a windy and rainy day out there, so I'm going to be sat here talking to you guys about the major service costs and what it consists of on the S55 engine, which is found in the M2 competition, the M3 F8 and the F82 M4, like the way I've got here. And I've got a fully paid invoice here as well, so this video isn't sponsored by the company that I've used. So for those of you that have already got the M2 competition, the M3 or the M4, and your car is now coming up to that major service point, hopefully you will find this video useful, and you guys might be shocked to hear what BMW are going to be quoting when you ring them up to get the service done. So a little bit about my car. I've had it for about a year. It's now a 3-year-old car, and the mileage on this car is relatively low for a 3-year-old car. It's only done 13,000 miles. Now some of you might be thinking, mate, you don't even drive your car much. However, when I bought the car a year ago, it had ultra low miles on it. It had about 4,000 miles for a 2-year-old car. So in the year that I've owned it, even bearing in mind that we had a lockdown, the car's done about 10,000 miles in my ownership. So it does get driven as a daily, and because of the way these condition-based service intervals are, your major service, you know, couldn't be anything from, like, say the way mine is now at 3 years old, at 13,000 miles. It could happen at 30,000 miles. It's just the way these things are. And the way I saw it was that the car's 3 years old. It does need, like, you know, the air filters and the oil filters, and, you know, set of spark plugs, as well as, like, you know, some fresh oil in there as well. So I rang up BMW, the supplying dealership, and they quoted me for a major service, which does consist of 2 air filters, 6 spark plugs, 6.5 litres of oil, an oil filter, and a inspection 1, I think it is, which is pretty much just like a tick box exercise, which they do, and they go around the car checking all the tyre pressures, all the tyre treads to see if all the seat belts are working. It's just literally just like an inspection, and they quoted me £1,329. And with a bit of discount it was £1,279. So it was really, like, pricey for what essentially I saw as a bit of oil and some spark plugs. So I know there's people out there that from the main dealer, they have got the prices like below £1,000 mark, but right now how things are, and I think they're trying to recoup some of, like, say, their costs because of COVID-19, they weren't budging on the price much, so it just seemed a lot more for me to be paying for what was essentially, in my eyes, just like, you know, a service, although it was a major service. My alternatives were to look for a specialist, and I have used a specialist in this instance. So the main thing for me was that I wanted to use BMW approved parts. Now we all know that BMW don't really manufacture any, like, say, parts for servicing on these engines, but they do have, like, a, you know, approved parts catalog, and it was important that for me to carry on showing that it's had, like, a full BMW service history. Even though it's not from a main dealer, I have used all the correct, you know, parts and all the part numbers, and on this invoice that's exactly what I'm going to be going through. So in terms of what I've paid for this major service compared to what BMW were quoting, I will get to that, but let's just talk through the parts first. So I have used the approved oil filter in this car, which is for the BMW F8, M3 and M4. I have used the approved M3, M4 and the M5 spark plugs, 6 of them. And it was quite interesting because even those spark plugs had an M logo. Now BMW don't really stick on M logos on an M car, but on all the parts, like, you know, underneath the car, pretty much every panel has an M logo, and it was quite reassuring to see the spark plugs with an M logo as well. So that was quite nice to see. We've then used 6.5 litres, even though this invoice says 7, because you can't get 6.5 litres, you order 7. We've used 6.5 litres of Castrol Edge 5W30M oil, and that again is the same oil that BMW use, although I believe BMW don't really use the Castrol oil anymore because they use a cheaper brand of oil, even though it's still M approved. We've just gone and used the Castrol because on the engine bay it actually says use Castrol, so that's exactly what we've used. We've then dropped in some air filters, and this is the only part that I've not used as the genuine BMW parts. What I've used here is I've just dropped in a couple of K&N air filters just to give you that little bit more of an induction sound, and these were a little bit more pricier compared to the OEM ones. The quote initially was priced on the OEM air filters, and I'll get to that. We've then done the whole kind of inspection all around the car, and there was nothing wrong with that from that point. So the total price drum roll. So BMW were charging me or quoting me £1,279 or something like that, and I have paid, including the K&N drop-in filters, which are a little bit more pricier than your standard ones, I've paid a total of £595.84. Now that, in my opinion, is well worth the money when it comes to a major service. Now I know some of you might be thinking, a major service, you could have done it at home. Yes, if I had the space and I had, like, you know, some axle stands and whatnot, I couldn't probably have done it myself, you know, using the same parts. But you know, for me, it was all about getting the car into a specialist and, you know, letting them do it. And also, when you're trying to change the spark plugs on this car, it's a massive job, because you've got to take off all the strut bracing, all this carbon stuff all around here, just to get to the spark plugs. And I saw how long it took these guys just to do the spark plugs, and it was such a big job, you know, that would take you over an hour just to get that. So you can see where BMW's pricing does kind of come in. So yes, the company that I have used is Litchfield. Most of you would have heard of them because they do a lot of tuning and remapping and stuff like that to GTRs, and you kind of think, well, if they're a GTR company, why are you using them to do a service on an M car? And the reason for that is they clearly run an M car themselves. They run like the M4, and also when I was there, the number of M cars that they just had in the car park, not as much as like the GTRs they had, but they do get quite a lot of M cars there, so it was the right place to go. And also they've ordered all these parts straight from, you know, BMW as well. So I've used genuine BMW parts here, and as you can see, here's all the part numbers if you guys are interested in the parts that I've used. So if you guys are coming up to that major service point of your S55 engine, and you know, you're kind of worried about spending over £1,000 on a oil change, essentially that's what it is, and plugs, then there are alternatives out there. As long as you're using these parts, which are the genuine BMW parts, then you shouldn't really have any issues, you know, with warranty. That's just my opinion. But the thing is, most of you guys that are going to be doing a major service on your car would be probably over the warranty period of your car anyway. So you know, that's why I've chosen to go to an independent. So most independent garages, they are able to reset your service intervals, as you can see here. The only thing some can and some can't do is update the service history on the iDrive. But in all honesty, as long as you've got, like, say, the invoice, it shouldn't really cause much of an issue because you've got proof that the car's been serviced. So the next big thing that's going to be happening to the M4 is that tomorrow we're going to have boot mode stage 1 flash to the car, and I'm really excited because I'm going to be obviously doing a vlog on it. So we'll be going through like how the installation is, and then obviously taking it for the drive and seeing how the car has transformed. So I'm really excited about pushing the boundaries and getting a bit more power out of the S55 engine. So definitely stay tuned for that. If you have found this video useful and informative, giving you an insight to what the major service on the S55 engine consists of and the cost that you can expect, then definitely give this video a like, share and subscribe to the channel for more content on not only the M4 but the 3 Series, as well as owners cars as well out there. So hopefully guys, I'll see you on the next one. Take care, bye.